listening in Santa Rosa, Florida, to Talk Radio 101. Hello, Moses.
Yeah, I'm calling and asking, does anybody really know the history of the police, why the police were formed?
Tell me about it.
They were formed to catch runaway slaves.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying actually earlier on the show this evening. Sheriff's departments.
Okay,
sheriff's departments have existed for probably close to 1,000 years, but police are a new phenomenon. 1850 was it was about when they started. The first police department was in London, 1850. Mostly in the United States, they had essentially slave hunters, runaway slave hunters, transitioned into this municipal police department.
There you go.
And it's always being stated that these young men are attacking these police in some type of way. And I mean, I never see young men really try to be involved with the police at all. The majority of them actually, they be trying to get away from the police.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Moses, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Let's jump into Frank, listening in Bozeman, Montana, to KMMS. Hey, Frank.
Yeah, I'm under the
I'm sorry?
that, boy, the young man had some kind of a knife or a sharp object, and they cut the police officer up pretty bad.
Where
he
was
had
this?
to be taken to the hospital.
Where was this? I'm sorry?
In Ferguson.
That's the first I've heard that the officer had been
brand
cut
new.
up.
I never heard any more after that.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of that. I mean, that's not to say that it's not true. I don't know, but that's the first I've heard of it. Anything else you want to share tonight, Frank?
That's it.
Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Brian. He's listening in Casper, Wyoming. Brian, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark.
Yeah, hi. Just one quick thing to share is for all the people, especially the black people out there, you know, the Mexicans, the people of other races, they really need to realize that, you know, the cops aren't just going after black people, Mexican people. They're coming after everybody. Let's take a look at what happened, and let's just take a look at what happened in New Mexico. Right, a bunch of white cops shot a white homeless guy down.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, and you guys probably remember the video of I know you guys aired it, of that guy screaming for his daddy, who was actually a cop. Well, the cops were beating him down. So those people need to realize that this isn't just about race. You know, everybody needs to just get together. You know, it doesn't matter what color you are.
Well, I get where you're coming from. I mean, there's no doubt the police in general have certainly a penchant for violence and escalation. And again, I'm not saying all police are the same. There are still some, you know, I think some good cops who are trying their best to in a terrible system. But generally, we see the police escalating conflicts. We see people of all races being slaughtered and beaten and abused by some of the police out there, and that's bad. But you also can't deny that there have been people who, let's say black people, who have had encounters with police where the police themselves may actually say racist things, where the police themselves may display tendencies that likely would be displayed by a racist. I mean, you can't discount that.
And stop and frisk is systemic and racist. I mean, and so when you still have things like this going on, it projects a message.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate your call tonight, trying to get as many folks in here as we can. David in San Francisco, you're on Free Talk Live. David.
Oh, howdy. Yeah, a couple of different things. The popular myths that are going around about this. The first one is, if you watch the press conference from a couple of days ago, they make it very clear that this so-called video of him strong-arming in the Stop and Go, or whatever the name of the store is not a verified him. And anybody that keeps talking that is just stirring it up, because the police chief himself said that he did not want to release it because there was no verification of him, but that he was forced to release it because of pressure from Freedom of Information Act.
Thing is, I don't care even if it was him, it still doesn't justify shooting a man over a box of cigars.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Much less then, I mean, I'm really into this as divide and conquer schemes, because I'm from St. Louis originally, and that town has always been a bad one. But the other thing, and this is in the sidewalk issue, that city is just right on the border of St. Louis itself. And when we lived out there, the further out in the suburbs you were, the more likelihood you wouldn't have a sidewalk. But this city has always been one where it's been, the fat cat's taking the money out of town. It's a slavery town, a conquered, little borough that they never had sidewalks out there, even though it was right on the border. And, right on the border of big old St. Louis City. And so the idea that they never provided sidewalks and then that this kid gets killed for not walking on the sidewalk. And in fact, I heard one of your earlier callers saying that
that's not the alleged. That's not the alleged claim. I mean, that's what the claim was, is for why he was stopped in the first place.
So you're saying there aren't sidewalks there, or there were sidewalks?
There were not. And as a matter of fact,
David, you don't know what street it was. Did you research the street? Because there was a guy who called earlier saying he researched the street, and he said there were sidewalks on this street.
If you just listen to the press conference from a couple of days ago with the police chief, and they clearly say that the cop pulled him over because he was walking in the street.
Yep.
And the witness says, and the cop actually, the cop's testimony is that he pulled him over for walking in the sidewalk, and they said that they were just almost there to where they were going, so they had to be in the sidewalk or in the street. And it's not. You got to realize that this town is like podunket of. They've never had sidewalks in that town.
David, thanks for the call, man. I do appreciate your call and thoughts here tonight. Interesting claim. So one guy calls in earlier to claim he's researched the exact street where it's happened.
Big wide sidewalks.
And there was huge government sidewalks there, and now David says he grew up there and there's no sidewalks. So let's go and continue with your calls and thoughts. We've got Ken. He's in Mobile. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Ken.
Hey, I was just wondering, I'm a professor in criminology and long time, just about to retire, and I also am a retired police officer, and I'm trying to figure out where you got the slave hunters, runaway slave hunters, or all that police's lineage is, and all that crap. That's totally unsubstantiated, and I wish you would
give it to me.
Where you
Tell me where police come from then.
Police officers are mostly derived from the English that came over, or the Scottish, actually. There's more Scottish police officers anyway than anybody. Oh, good old Irish and Scottish. They're not derived from
I'm not talking about where they're from. The first police department was in London in 1850, right?
Yeah.
That much is true. Okay, so we know that chronologically, all police departments came after 1850.
Okay.
Do you agree or disagree with the statement that many people that were employed to hunt slaves in the South then were transitioned from the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s into municipal police departments? Is that a statement you agree or disagree with?
I totally disagree.
Okay.
I'm still trying. I've read just thousands and thousands of books on the history of law enforcement and history of other organizations, and I have never, ever heard of that.
I've read it in a couple of places. That doesn't make it right. It just means something I've read in a couple of places.
Well, there you go now. Ken's saying different. Ken, thanks for your call, man. We'll have to have somebody else take a closer look at it. We don't have time to dig in deep tonight. We've got time maybe to get Anthony with his thoughts in Charleston. Anthony, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, man. As far as the Scottish police thing, the guy just said, watch Braveheart. White people have been fighting for their rights for a long fucking time.
Oh, you can't say those things on the radio. We're just going to have to drop you off when you do those things. And there you go. So, wrapping up the show with the F-bomb. Boom! I don't even know what he was trying to say. And we're out of time, so we can't figure it out now. We'll see you tomorrow online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. See you then. Have a great weekend.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.